Patty,
What's up, homie?
man, massive news. Kirk officially going to get cut. Hasn't been cut yet. Going to get cut. Penix is up. Just an incredibly fun and important time in the league for teams who need quarterbacks, teams that are moving off quarterbacks. We're seeing teams firsthand. This is the NBA now.
Yeah.
Like teams are trying to tank. Um, if you're the Giants,
Oh, yes.
are you going Sam? Are you going Fields? What do you do if you're the Giants, assuming you have the first pick?
So I don't know what they think of Shador or Cam.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you're in love with one of those guys, if you really are, you just love those guys. Okay, you take them because the GM and the coach are under a lot of fire. I personally would not fire either one of them. I
Me
would
too.
keep them both. I would think they survive. And if you draft that quarterback, then at least you have a year, um, of people understanding it's a rookie quarterback. Although I gotta tell you, look at what happened this year. Um, Putting Caleb Williams aside because that's his team and his coach and everything let him down. Um, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, he's just on a terrible team. Um,
Knicks.
but Nix and Penix and I mean crazy.
I gotta tell you, this rookie class has been surprising. It's
Yeah.
been very surprising.
Yeah. So anyway, um if you're in love, but the reason I brought them up is because I haven't done a lot of work on college quarterbacks.
Mhm.
You're always better on that than I am. I don't think either one of these guys is considered in the class of the top three last year. And so how good are they going to be? I don't know. Are they worth the first pick? I don't know. And so if I'm the Giants, the my you got my attention today when Cousins drops out, right? Because I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, he's guaranteed for like 2 years for like 40 something million. All you have to pay him is the minimum or whatever, maybe 5 million, like something,
Interesting.
right? And now, you don't want to necessarily get somebody else's problem and make it your problem. So you got to really understand why he got benched. Was it just 4 games and they didn't want to take the risk of not making the playoffs and they were like, okay, let's give it a shot. We got Penix. Or is he hurt? Like, is he really damaged is the word I'm looking for.
You know, Pat, it's an interesting take because Cousins played so horrifically that you almost wonder if something was wrong because he was missing by miles. Some of his picks were
Yes.
very uncharacteristic of Kirk, and he's not a risk taker. Here's my Giants take. You go after Sam. You offer Sam 45 to 50. Essentially, you outbid everyone else, but you sign him to a Kirk-like deal to where if you move off of him in 2026, you have 1 year where you suffer a big dead cap hit, and then you use your first overall pick this year to trade back. Why? You stockpile assets
Yeah.
for Arch in 2026. So if Sam doesn't pan out, or if Sam is just mids, essentially if he doesn't exceed or stay at where he was this year, you have two firsts, two seconds, two thirds in 2026, and you go and trade for Arch Manning. I don't know if you've watched him, and there's not much tape out there
I,
yet.
I haven't really.
I think he's special. I think he's really special, Pat. And I think the Giants, with the number one overall pick, are in really unique position to make a very savvy move. Very savvy move because there's enough veterans out there right now. And then there's Sam, who can genuinely win you games right now, but then you have the chance to get an arch. Last point on this. If you trade back with a team like the Saints, you trade back with a Titans. The odds are their first round pick next year is top five. So it's not only like you have your first and their first, and you could potentially swing a trade for an arch.
Right.
There's high odds. I mean, you're looking at two top 12 picks in a stockpile of twos and threes. So if I were the Giants, that's what I do. I sign Sam, and if you can't sign Sam, I sign Fields. But I trade back and I prep for Arch, or I use a stockpile of picks to build a pretty good team.
Okay. So I agree with the overall idea of building a good team, stockpiling picks. But there is an enormous difference between signing Sam and signing Fields, not just in the talent of the guys or the production of the guys, but Sam is 40, 50 million.
Mhm.
Fields is 10. They only have 60 million in cap and they're got to pay 20 of it in dead cap to Jones. So if I'm them, if you're going for Sam, you're acting like Sam is the deal, the bomb. And you're going to have him for 8 years, not not as a stopgap to Arch for a year. If I'm going stopgap, but by the way, stopgap might lose them their jobs because they're in the third year of 5 year deals right now. If I'm going stopgap, I'm going Cousins, Fields, Brissett, whatever.
So it's
Minshew.
it's Fields or Sam. Cannot be Kirk.
Why? Because he's somebody else's problem. He's so I'll tell you what I heard this weekend, by the way. Um, Phil Simms, who watches a lot of film, was saying he thinks Kirk is hurt, that he has like a shoulder or something that, and you don't know if it's like 3 games kind of hurt or he's damaged, is the word I would use. And he's saying basically he doesn't have the power in his arm anymore. He could always sling it. And they're saying
Interesting.
a lot of those interceptions are coming from him not having the power. And I heard something else too this weekend. Who was it? It might have been Edelman on a podcast with Rich Eisen who said, "Look, when you're a drop back, I'm sorry, Kirk Cousins was a play action quarterback in Minnesota for years,
Excellent, excellent point.
right? And when you're a play action quarterback, you don't have to do all that Tom Brady processing at the line. You are not in the shotgun. You're standing up there, you get the ball, you turn your back to the defense, you fake the handoff, and then you turn around and you look for your first read. If he's open, you throw it.
Well, and
That's it.
then Jefferson too, he separates
Right.
more than
And your
any
first
wide
read
receiver in the
is the best
league
guy in the game.
over the
And
last 5 years.
right, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. But the point being, as a drop back, I'm sorry, I keep saying drop back, as a
Play
play
action
action
guy.
quarterback, right? You don't have to do all that processing. If you're in the shotgun, you get the ball and you're looking at, oh, the too deep, one of them's rotating, it's becoming quarters.
Cover
This
three.
guy, I got Wink Martindale and 8 guys are rushing, and you don't know what the heck. You got to be a Mr. Processor.
And
And they're
then
saying Kirk is not that. Now, I'm
let
not,
me let me
I don't
add
know.
there really quick.
Yeah.
If you're injured, that takes another processing thing out because you're like
Yes.
you're always thinking about your throwing arm. So it's an interesting point. What I would push back on is the Falcons have such a great running game and a good offensive line. Um, Atlanta this year has been less of a play action team than I thought they'd be. That's why I
And that's
like
what they were
Kirk
saying.
there.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
That Kirk is a fish out of water, basically. They brought him in, which frankly is malpractice. To take a guy like that, who is a drop back quarterback, doesn't do all the processing, and to put him in an offense that requires all that processing. If that's really what happened, they should get fired. I mean, I know they picked Penix, but like,
Yes and no, because Kirk is 36. Kirk's a vet. I mean, he's been there, done that. I think the more plausible rationale is that he's been hurt. With that being said, I don't think Kirk should go to the Giants. I think Kirk is better off in a San Francisco, who we should talk about next,
Yeah,
where it's like he's going to an environment that's going to play to his strengths, West Coast scheme,
right.
and that has the requisite personnel to support his 37-year-old guy. So, on that note, just posted a reel about this before we had hopped on. Brock Purdy. I'm going to speak as a damaged Dolphins fan. Fins, Fins. You cannot sell your soul to a quarterback who's not top 14. And what I mean by that is too many fans get lost in the weeds of stats, of mainstream sports news. What you have to look at when you rank quarterbacks is if every quarterback was on the same team with the same coach, same players, where
Right.
do these guys actually rank? I would I would argue, even though Brock is better than Tua, particularly off script, I would make the case that Purdy's not a top 14 guy. And the
That's what we were
primary
saying.
reason, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And I'm not surprised that Sims was saying that because Sims has been very realistic on Tua.
I think it was actually Edelman and Eisen, but either way.
Two really good guys too. My concern is that San Francisco's strength is in John Lynch. Besides Roseman, he's the best GM in ball, and it's not close. Is the coach, and it's the winning tradition,
Yeah.
and it's the players.
Yeah,
From
they're
from
loaded.
draft picks to signings to trades.
They're loaded. They're
No
loaded.
one had the balls to go and get Trent at 34 years old, coming off a weird personal. Um, I think he like lashed out or something. I mean, it was weird, but the point is, it would be a mistake to give 300 mil plus because that's what they project, 300 mil plus to a guy who is limited, to a guy who's good, not great, and to a guy that obviously needs a great supporting cast. San Francisco's
Yeah.
been hurt, but Jennings they still have. Samuel missed a little bit, but they still had him for the most part. Trent they had for about 9 to 10 games. He's Tua, but a little better. And with that being the case, in no world am I paying him 60 million per year. That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's nuts. You got to think like a GM and forget personal attachments.
So if you're
What?
San
Yeah,
Francisco, what do you do?
Sam Darnold. And I know I just used him for the Giants, but these are two teams, and I wrote it down here. You could see I didn't write Sam's name anywhere else. I don't know if you can read this. It's like
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah. I
Top
got you.
left veteran guys.
I got you.
Sam was playing in San Fran. Sam is accustomed to their scheme, very similar to the one that the Vikes have.
Right. He played there for a year.
He he played there, and now he's been in this system for 2 straight years.
Right.
I think Sam, you get on a much more favorable deal. Sam will probably go for 20 to 25 mil less. And I think in this offense,
Yeah.
Sam can give you more than Brock can. And it hurts if you're a San Francisco guy because it's like Purdy took us to the Super Bowl. We were a play away from beating the Chiefs. But I promise y'all, and San Francisco fans will probably hate me for saying this, Sam is a better overall quarterback than Brock Purdy. Sam can do more. He has just as good of legs, but he has a rocket arm. He's
Oh
very
yeah.
poised.
Big
He's
arm.
not phased under the rush. And this year, metrically and eye test wise, he's graded out as a top 8 guy. I mean, Sam versus Trevor Lawrence is a real debate. To me, that is a real, we can get feisty over those two dudes.
Right.
If you sign Sam, you save money, you get a better quarterback, and a guy who has this rare case where he's accustomed to the system. That's what I do. So let's move on before we take a little break here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, let's get to two more teams.
Okay.
The last one on the veteran side of the bracket here is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh should re-sign Fields. Pittsburgh should move off Russ.
Wow.
Fields and Pittsburgh, I think, are a match made in heaven. Do I wish that Fields had an offensive coach? Sure. But you just look at the grit, the toughness, the explosiveness. Pittsburgh should really lean in to the run first thing, to the run 60% of the time, throw 40. And I just think you could be so multiple with Fields. He's young. Pittsburgh, this has been a cute, fun year, and Tomlin will never have a losing season.
Right.
But this is an anomaly. Cincy will only be subpar for one season. The Dolphins will come back. The Jets will come back. The Browns, probably not. The Browns stink. They're cursed. But you got to just go young. You got to go Fields. Don't draft a guy. You have a good one in Fields. So that's my spiel.
I have a hard time seeing the Steelers going with Fields if this year they've chosen Wilson over Fields. I just don't see them like at the end of the year going, I mean, unless Wilson starts to stink and he's, terrible or whatever. But like if they keep winning, why would they go off of the guy who beat out the other guy? I don't know. I feel like Fields is still a gamble. Look, it's one thing if you're the Giants and you gamble on Fields because you're 2-13 or whatever the hell we are, right? Um, it's another thing if you're the Steelers, you're in the playoff hunt and you've got a Super Bowl winning quarterback and you say, nah, let's get rid of him and let's go with a guy who never has done anything.
Here's the rebuttal, though. What's Wilson going to ask for?
Okay, money matters. So fair enough, money matters. And you know what? Wilson came through the Giants last year, and he came in for an interview, and they told him he wasn't going to start. They said, "You're Daniel's the starter. You would be the backup, unless Daniel gets hurt or whatever. You're going to be the backup."
And
So
Russ said no.
right, and he said no, and he left. And so now, if you're right, and Wilson wants too much, he could want to go to the Giants. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, if I'm him, I don't want to go to the Giants.
Best of luck, dude. That's what I would say. I would look Russ in the face and say, best of luck, man. I'm
Yeah.
Team Pete. I'm Team Pete. I thought Russ was a
Me too.
complete pain. I don't
Me
like
too.
Russ.
Me too.
You
He's
know,
not he's not my guy.
Curry is one of those Christian players that live out the faith. Like Curry is a genuine guy who is all God first,
I
but
mean,
you
Steph
see it
Curry?
in the way that he is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Steph Curry.
yeah,
With Russ, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to make this like a religious rant.
yeah.
Russ is the poster child
Right.
for the annoying Christian quarterback.
Yeah.
Like Kirk is an extreme anti-gay,
Right.
all of this, right?
Right.
Christian quarterback. But Kirk is a stand-up guy. Russ is like, put the spotlight on me while I go and give food to the hungry. But I want the spotlight. Like, please film me because I'm that type of guy. What I would tell Russ is good luck. You found yourself in a great spot. But if I'm Pittsburgh, man, I go Fields is young. Fields is hungry. Fields can win off script. And
Yeah.
just watch. In the playoffs, when Pittsburgh will lose, they're going to think, oh, it was a 3rd and 7. The game was on the line, and Russ held on to the ball for too long and got sacked. When Fields would just be like, I run a 4.45. I'm grossly strong, and I'm going to take off and run for it.
Well, yeah.
So that's my Pittsburgh.
Ironically, ironically, Russ was known in Seattle for extending plays.
Well, and he's still good at that. He's just older, so it's like
Right.
he's not the same guy as an athlete.
Yeah,
Um, but he's
true.
one of those guys that thinks he is. That's why he got blasted this week. I'm not sure if you saw that hit. It was pretty rough. Um, let's see. Last team before we take a quick one. Um, let's go with the Raiders because it's pretty clear they're going to draft a rookie. Um, and I think that guy is Shador. I think Shador is the best fit. I think Shador thrives under the bright lights. Dion supposedly spoke with the team. I think him and Pierce are close and said, draft my boy. And frankly, I actually think if you look at a fit, their offensive line is a weird, quiet strength of this team. Weird, quiet strength. Uh, according to PFF, right?
Right,
I haven't watched much, so if they're not, I sound dumb, but I think they are. Shador's kryptonite is being too confident in his legs and holding on to the ball for too long.
right.
His processing is wicked. His accuracy is Tua at Bama-esque, but he has a stronger arm than Tua, a little bit more legs. The Raiders with Bowers, with Mayer, with a lot of cap room, they will get a weapon, potentially T. Higgins. Shador would be in a good spot there. That's who I would go with. I wouldn't go with Cam Ward if I was them. I think I like Cam a little bit more as a prospect, a tad more, but Shador is is a great fit there.
So I don't know as much about the Raiders or Cam or Shador, but what I hear is Shador is better processor, more accurate. Cam is the better athlete.
Yeah, well,
And
Cam's a better athlete, but Cam's also way more special. He has more of a natural feel off script.
okay, so and right, and so you've got all of that element to Cam, whereas, I mean, it's an oversimplification, but Cam is more maybe Josh Allen and Shador is more Tom Brady. I realize that's like ridiculous, but you know what I'm saying with the processing and all that. But you have to protect him. Did you hear that yesterday Dion said, I know the Giants are going to draft Shador, and I know the Giants are not trading the first pick.
He
So he's
said that.
effectively, yeah. And so he's effectively saying the Giants with the first pick are going to take my kid.
So Pat, you should actually. I stand by the fact that I think the Giants should trade the first pick, get more picks, and tank for
Yeah.
Arch. Or not tank for Arch. Sorry. I think they should sign Sam to a Kirk-like deal. They'll eat 1 year of dead cap and then they'll be fine. But if you guys get Shador with Malik and potentially, because it's a rookie deal, potentially someone on the market that you can trade for, Thomas comes back. It's not a bad spot. And Shador does have a little Brady. He does. He does in terms of no moment is too big.
Right.
Shador thrives under pressure. He was the most pressured quarterback in college football by far the
Right.
last 2 years.
Right.
Still put up the stats, still made the big time throws, still led comeback wins. Um, I think he's a sneaky good prospect, and people sleep on him because of who his dad is. I think folks
Right.
think he's just this hype up fluff. Nah, he's a real dude. Him and Cam both, man. I'm high on them both.